Hi, and welcome to another edition of Fully Booked and Bonkers. Hope you're well. We've been all right. You've been all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sitting in the wrong seats tonight, though. So that means something's going on.
That means you're reviewing the book.
I am.
Get on with it.
I am. We're going to try and make it a bit quicker
Says
than
the
last
woman
week's.
that rambles on for ages. Anyway.
Yeah. You've obviously witnessed I can't interrupt with...
You can't interrupt.
She won't let me.
You can't even
I
interrupt.
can't even talk without interrupting.
Anyway.
Anyway, so tonight I'm going to review a novel which I've read 3 times in the last many months, and it's Bev's second novel. It's this book here. It's Making Sacrifices, which is before we even start, it is a lot different to your first novel, Conspiracy of Cats.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Making Sacrifices,
Okay,
then I'll give you my review.
I'll give you the blurb. The blurb is there's a young man, Isaac Sadler, and years before we meet him, he parties himself into a coma.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's in hospital at the time, and he dies, but the NHS staff fight to bring him back. And almost as soon as he comes back, he begins to experience what become really debilitating nightmares. And there's always a sort of female persona in the nightmares with him, which he assumes is part of himself, because it's, dreams, all the characters in your dreams are parts of your own personality, really. So he goes on this horrible journey with her, and research sort of suggests to him that the way that he can maybe help to stop the nightmares is to change the ending.
Yes.
So he does that in 2 ways. The first way is to draw her, to begin painting her and bringing her out into the real world. And then he starts to write a story for her. So while she is a victim inside his nightmares, she becomes a warrior, and he creates a warrior persona for the woman of his nightmares, and she becomes Vida, Queen of the Vidian Empire, and it's a kind of a cult classic. It becomes a bit of a...
So he gets this published.
Well, yeah, he gets
the
the story published, and it's out there in the real world, and then 5 years pass, and that's when we meet Isaac.
Yeah.
And he is on the verge of discovering the reality behind a archaeological investigation close to where he grew up, where a woman's body is uncovered, and they think they found a bog body, so an ancient remains of a sacrifice to ancient gods. But it turns out that their bog body is actually wrapped up in a polycotton sheet, so she's obviously a lot more modern. The police become involved, and after a certain amount of time has elapsed, they do a reconstruction of the woman's face, and they put it on missing persons. It sort of goes around.
Goes everywhere.
Yeah, and then members of the public see it, and everybody agrees that she's a dead ringer for Vida, the Queen of the Vidian Empire.
So this body they dug up is not an archaeological find. It's
she doesn't just exist between the pages of Isaac's book, his graphic novel. She was a real person, and you have now read the very advanced manuscript for the third time. But now it's at the publishers, and it's kind of like
it's had the first set of edits done.
Yeah, so that'll be what you read. It's just got to be corrected and tweaked a little bit, and then that's what you might read.
It's a great book. It's very different to whereas Conspiracy of Cats is a book where you want more. Mm-hmm. Okay, when you read this book, it is definitely a standalone novel. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But Isaac's the kind of guy that most men want to be, and most women or men want to be with him. Do you know what I mean? He comes across as that, but I don't think he really understands that about him. But so yeah, you meet Isaac, and the story progresses and you meet other characters. Can I say some of the characters' names?
Yeah.
You meet George, his father, and you meet John, his brother, and Callie, and then you meet the most wonderful, wonderful character. And she beats Joss from Conspiracy because she is absolutely bloody fantastic.
It's going to be a fight.
She's from Catalonia, and she's living in Edinburgh with her father when we meet her. And she's like a, I don't know, it's like a cyclone going through your life as well, because she's just absolutely hilarious. Oh, she's brilliant. She's wonderful and serious and hilarious, and unfortunately her grasp on the English language is not as good as it should be when she's sleeping like a leg, for example.
Oh yeah.
And things like that. So she's really wonderful. And then you meet the two detectives that are investigating this looky-likey, because obviously, you know, if it's a looky-likey, they're
Bryant and Callahan.
Bryant and Callahan, and they have a very good dynamic relationship where Callahan's the younger one, and Bryant is the older, more experienced, been around the block too many times one. And those two bring such a laugh as well between them. The dynamics just between them, because whilst all this is going on, there's all the other people's lives being ripped apart as well, because all these secrets are coming out and these sacrifices are coming out as well, which is, I can understand why you got the title for Making Sacrifices, because there's the sacrifice from the bog body sort of thing. There's lots of sacrifices that are contained within the book.
People make sacrifices all the time.
It's a lot darker than Conspiracy of Cats, and that's not a bad thing, but it is darker, because I was sitting on a plane on the way to Slovakia reading this on the manuscript, and I'm crying like a baby, going, oh my God, and it doesn't make me, oh my God, this is, and then my glasses are filling up with water, and then I'm just sitting there, oh no, and then I felt a hand on my shoulder, and the lady that was sitting next to me, bless her, she just turned around and just went,
oh yeah, she couldn't speak English, could she?
Like,
yeah.
I'm going, oh, I'm fine.
Oh,
so
isn't that nice?
It's a fantastically written book, and it's funny. It's so funny, but also it's very serious, and it deals with some really serious issues as well, regarding things like. Well, I'm not going to give too many things away, but it is great. It is great, and so for those that are expecting a sequel to Conspiracy of Cats, that is going to happen.
Well, it's different, isn't it?
This is totally different. Yeah. So, but all the characters have a really good part to play, and George is fantastic. I think George is.
Isaac's dad. Isaac and John's dad.
Yeah. It's just.
George.
Just amazing. So, can I ask a question? On the cover of the book, there's a horse.
Yes.
Why is there a horse in
there? Golly, there's two answers to that question. The first answer is that that horse is Fury, the black horse.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And it's a horse from Isaac's past, but it's also a horse from his kind of sideways past, which is what he sees in his nightmares.
In his nightmares, that's right.
Yeah, so it's quite a pivotal animal. Yeah. Though it's not, it's like Conspiracy of Cats is not about cats, but cats are crucial to the telling of the story.
Yeah.
And Fury is a crucial element in Isaac's
quite a pivotal moment
experience of life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay, I'm with that.
And he touches the horse kind of touches his past, his nightmare existence, but also his present in the story. The second reason is purely goes back to Conspiracy of Cats, because when they asked me, did I have any idea about what kind of cover I wanted on the book, and I had no idea that this was something that I would have to take part in, and that I received a form that I had to fill out. Tell us a bit about the story. This is for the design department who are not necessarily reading your story. Tell us about it. What do you see on the cover? What do you want to convey? Blah blah blah. And I racked my brains, and then I wrote screeds of information down. It was like I wrote an essay for each answer. And please see separate document because there wasn't enough space on this screen.
You did, I remember.
And then they sent me back. They ignored everything, absolutely everything that I had said about fires and mountains and all this.
Magic, all the magic.
Aye, and they sent me a picture of a lioness's head, and I just thought, oh my god, that's
they sent
just
some other ones as well,
so
but that one
good.
was yeah.
And then because that cat is crucial, but there's also another little cat in the background of that story that's just kind of is a common thread running all the way through it. Her name is Imelda, and she's a little black and white cat, and she is on the back on top of the barcode of the actual book. I'm saying that because if you've got Kindle, you'll have the cover, but you won't necessarily have the back. Or maybe you do. I've never checked. You get to the end of the story and then they start asking you to review. Anyway, so you sort of said, that this is kind of it's sort of like Brandon. So when I thought I really liked that concept of the lioness on the front and Imelda on the back, and Fury the horse is quite important to Isaac.
There are some moments where Fury is very pivotal.
Quite
it changes things.
Important to the story.
Yeah.
So I thought I would really like to have that black stallion on the front in some form, and then on the back I thought, well, there's another wee animal that plays quite an important.
There is a very important. In fact, he does.
Very
crucial at one point.
And so, can we have him on the back on the barcode? And that's what we have. It's a work in progress, and I'm really pleased with it, and I'm quite happy. The
story is.
I
will say the story changed from when I read the first draft many months ago.
Yeah, it did.
To the third draft. I know you had your school teacher to help you as well. So that I say school teacher, but it's not actually a school teacher. But
it's a beta reader that I have, and she's proved to be an absolute diamond. Really, she was an ARC reader for me. For Conspiracy of Cats, and was such an enthusiast and gave me such wonderful feedback, and we've kept in touch and we've actually met for real, and she was happy to be a beta reader for Making Sacrifices, and she sent me back what we call #RedPenGate. And it was basically like, I'm your teacher and I'm just putting big red pens through all the crap, all the repetitive stuff, all the ramblings. Like, we don't need that. That's not necessary to the story. That's not moving it along. Come on, do it again. And I did. I just thought, I was horrified. When I first saw it, I was absolutely horrified. I was like, oh my God, look at all this stuff that she's put her pen through. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to cut out everything that she's said. Cut it out, remove it, and save it in another document or the whole thing. It's because you can do that with computers. It's great. And I sat down and I read it from the beginning, and I thought, do you know what? She's really spot on, because the story was faster, it flowed better, and I am so thoroughly grateful to this wonderful woman who will get a credit. And I'll buy you more lunches as well. And I've already roped her in because she's a pilot. She flies a plane, which is for me it's just an incredible. It's like playing the piano. I think is amazing. And another thing that I think is amazing is to be able to fly a plane. So there you go. I don't know if she can play the piano, but she's got a big red pen and she can fly a plane. And what was I talking to her about? You
were talking about that she could fly a plane because of
because I've got not the next one, the fourth one. There's a body dump from a plane.
So you picked her brains.
And I'm getting all this great information. So it's like, love it. Fantastic. Absolutely love it.
So anyway, going back to Making Sacrifices, I loved it. And listen, I'm not an X Factor husband.
But he's my number one fan.
I am. But to be honest with you, and if it was shit, I'd say it was shit. And I'd say it to you before you even, I'd just say that it's no good. So, if it, you see them on X Factor, don't they? They're cheering on their kids. Oh, they're the best. They're singing all the local clubs, and they get out there and they're absolutely pants. And the parents are going, oh, they're wonderful. No, we don't. But anyway, so Making Sacrifice is really good. I haven't really said too much about it, except for I really loved it, and it's a lot more emotional than Conspiracy of Cats. But it's also a lot harder as well. There's some really break your heart moments in it, which they just do. But it really is a good story. But it ties up really nicely as well. So it's a right drama. It's a right drama.
It's a right drama.
It is. It's right. We've really rabbited on about stuff that I was meant to do a review on Making Sacrifices, but we rabbited about other stuff.
You did do a review on Making Sacrifices.
Yeah, I just it's amazing how you actually I couldn't work out how when I read it first time I read it and I was going, oh, it's not Conspiracy of Cats, is it? Because Conspiracy to me is really good. And then the second time I read it, I go, but by the time but the third time I read it with the changes and the editing and everything
after Red Pengate.
After Red Pengate,
yeah.
Oh wow, boom, this is great. You still get all exactly the same information and the pictures and the mental images and everything else, but it just it just hits it.
All the superfluous stuff has been taken away.
So it's good. So we're looking at what we're looking at October-ish, we think.
Oh, wow. God, I don't even know. I'm hopeful for October. I'm very, very hopeful for October. But the days just are flying past, and I don't know. It's just.
What can you do?
It'll be out when it's out.
So we'll let you know as soon as we know, as soon as you know.
Yeah, I'll be shouting from the rooftops. So you won't need an internet or whatever you.
Anyway, you're really gassing on about. We better give their ears a rest. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. We're going to go, and I'm going to grab myself another beer. Thanks very much. Bye.
Good night. Bye.